Hello everyone, this video is based on the short story Her Lover written by Maxim Gorky. Maxim Gorky is the pseudonym of Alexei Maximovich Peshkov, who was born on 16th March 1868 in Nizhny Novgorod, Russia, and died on 14th June 1936. He was a Russian short story writer and novelist who first attracted attention with his naturalistic and sympathetic stories of tramps and social outcasts, and later wrote other stories, novels, and plays, including his famous The Lower Depths. Gorky knew the Russian working class background intimately, for his grandfather afforded him only a few months of formal schooling, sending him out into the world to earn his living at the age of 8. The bitterness of these early experiences later led him to choose the word Gorky, which means bitter, as his pseudonym. Now, about the story Her Lover. The story remained unnoticed for a long time, and it is a story about human loneliness, how human identity was during the early decades of the 20th century. And the narrator of the story is a student who is an acquaintance of the writer. This is clear from the first sentence of the story. An acquaintance of mine once told me the following story. This particular sentence actually helps us to make the story believable. Like the story is more realistic when we read the first line itself. The story is about a poor, ugly, and illiterate lady named Teresa, and she has no friends and family. She lives alone in her apartment, and there is no one in this world to treat her with love. One day she asks her neighbor, Mr. Student, to write a letter for her to her boyfriend Bowles. After a week, she again asks Mr. Student to write a letter for her, but that time it was from Bowles to her. So the identity of Bowles and Teresa is not known actually to the student first. He doesn't know that Teresa is actually this woman and Bowles is her lover, imaginary lover. All these things are not known to the uh, student at first. And at first, he was reluctant to help this woman because he detested her. At first, he became surprised, but later he agrees. But he realizes how she imagines her lover to overcome her loneliness. Henceforth, twice a week, he regularly writes letters to Bowles and answers from Bowles to Teresa as well. Later in the story, she is imprisoned and finally dies in the end. So she has a very insignificant life altogether, but she finds a way to make it worthy enough by having a lover of her own, even though it is imaginary. Now let's have a look at the characters. Teresa is a Pole, and she has, according to the student, she has a questionable repute. She is not a reputable woman. By appearance, we can see that she is a tallish, powerfully built brunette with black, bushy eyebrows and large, coarse face as if carved out by hatchet. The, the bestial gleam of her dark eyes, her thick bass voice, everything had an gave an appearance of horror to the student. So he didn't want to have anything to do with this woman. And she had a cabman like gait. She was more of a masculine woman with immense muscular vigor, etc. And he describes it as worthy of a fishwife. Worthy of a fishwife in the sense, a fishwife is an archaic word which later on came to be used as a woman who shouts. Fishwife literally means a woman who sells fish. So here it means that she is not that uh, sophisticated and all. She may shout in the public. So she is more of a rough kind of person. Now the other character is the student. He is a young man who is the narrator of the story, and his name is not stated in the story. He is the neighbor of Teresa. He is afraid of Teresa's ugly look, but he later writes letters for her to her imaginary lover, Bowles. At the beginning, he does not know that Bowles is just an imaginary person, but later he becomes aware of the fact that there is no actual existence of Bowles. But he shows a lot of sympathy to this woman once he knows about why she is actually doing this. Now, Bowles, as we all know now, Bowles is an imaginary character. There is no physical existence of Bowles. He is only an imaginary boyfriend of Teresa. He only exists in the letters which Mr. Student writes for Teresa. So, to conclude, the story is about Teresa's desire to be loved. Teresa is a social outcast. She is not beautiful, she is not wealthy, she has no reputation in society, so she has nothing to expect from life. But still, as a human being, she has the desire to be loved and cared. So she finds her own way to overcome the loneliness that is terrible for her. So she finds a way to connect to the world with this uh, imaginary lover. The student gets to know the other side of Teresa. So his prejudices regarding this woman completely changes because this woman actually helps him in return for the letters. She serves him. So it's a lot for her to get some letters for an imaginary lover. So this was actually a kind of revelation for the writer uh, and also for the student. And the student, when he looks at this woman, he has his whole outlook towards the class changes. So, thus, Maxim Gorky actually universalizes the agony of the marginalized. It's not only the story of the one woman. On the other hand, when we read the story of Teresa, we feel for the whole community of marginalized people who has nothing to hope for in this world. So please read the story and understand the feeling that is conveyed through the story. Thank you.